Remember October, the home opener of the Rangers and the Penguins in Pittsburgh? Yeah, I remember that night. That was the night the Rangers absolutely shut the hell up of the Penguins. They actually embarrassed the Penguins. Yeah, that's right. Well, let's find out what happened in the Big Apple tonight between the Rangers and the Pens. I'm Scott McGregor. Apologies for my language there, but let's talk Rangers and the Pens. Pens and the Rangers next on Penguins postgame. Let's get rolling. You're locked in to Penguins hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Sidney Crosby and the Penguins play here on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Hey, Shooty scores! The bingo game is ready to roll. Welcome to Penguins postgame. PPG for PGH. And you'd have to be here to believe it. Here is your host, Scott McGregor. Okay, listen. I'm glad the Penguins did not get shut out like they did on October 9th, 2024 when the Rangers, you know, just literally shut the door on the Penguins. On the Penguins. They literally just shut the door on the Penguins. And not only that, they embarrassed the Penguins in the home opener for the Pittsburgh Penguins, losing 6-0. Tonight, though, the scene was at Madison Square Garden. Head coaches and our matchup between the pipes in just a little bit. But to talk about the final score tonight, 4-2 in favor of the Rangers. It feels like deja vu throwing the other way around, because last time these two teams met, yeah, the Penguins didn't win that game. They got shut out 6-0. But at least this time, even though the same result came out, they lost 4-2. Well, they lost again, but I digress on that, Penguins fans, as we welcome you in. And good evening, everybody, to the Penguins fans and Ranger fans here joining us on this podcast. Sports for Beginners is the site for Penguins postgame. And streaming every Wednesday off day the Penguins have this season. We got a ton of games that you need to catch up on if you haven't seen them already on Sports for Beginners. But there's a ton of games that you're going to have to catch up on that have yet to be released. Not a lot of penalties to be talking about as far as the first period goes, but we'll get to that in our breakdown of the game in a second. In a couple seconds, I should say. First up, as we always do, time to take a look at our head coaches and our matchup between the pipes. Peter Laviolette takes on Mike Sullivan. Peter L. Sorry about that, Peter, if I keep pronouncing your last name wrong. I'm trying to get it right as we go along. Hopefully I get it right before we get to the last game of the 2024-2025 season series for the New York Rangers and the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Rangers came into this game desperate for a win, and the Penguins, well, they had a 4-game winning streak. And remember how I said the Penguins would not get to that point? They had a 3-game winning streak, and I said, oops, Now watch the Flames. Sorry, no, I said like a 2-game win streak or whatever, and I said, oops. Now watch the Flames just come out and end that winning streak. That didn't happen. So I got a pass that night. I didn't get a pass tonight as the Penguins' win streak grew to 4 games, and that's where it was halted by the same team that, you guessed it, as I've said already, beat them 6-0 in Pittsburgh a couple nights ago and 2 months ago. Wow. Nothing really changed. Well, actually, there's no more Jacob Trouba. He was traded to the Anaheim Ducks. More on that on another new episode of Sports for Beginners, the podcast. Maybe it will happen during our 1-hour Christmas season finale, which is now 29 episodes of season 3. Wanted to try and do a show yesterday to get it going for this Friday, December 6th, 2024. Unfortunately, unable to do so. So the season finale will be recorded as a pre-recorded show. It'll be recorded next week and drop with just a few days before Christmas. It will drop on the Friday, December 20th, 2024. And that will be our 1-hour Christmas finale. Be sure you check out that program. All right, let's go between the pipes. Last time, it was Tristan Jarry versus Igor Shesterkin. And the backup was Jonathan Quick for the New York Rangers. Igor Shesterkin got the start last time round. Backing up Tristan Jarry was the rookie goaltender Joel Blomqvist. Not the backup tonight. The backup tonight is Tristan Jarry. And the goaltender tonight for Pittsburgh is Alex Nedeljkovic. So this time it's Nedeljkovic versus Shesterkin. And minus Shesterkin getting signed by the Rangers, which we'll talk about probably before the show wraps up. The Rangers say hasta la vista to Jacob Trouba. I wish I had the rights to play Trouba's comments, but I don't. So we will not worry about that, but I will touch on the trade a little bit later in the program. And this might just be 1 hour. So in case that is the case, I want to make sure I get in some of my thoughts on the trade. And honestly, I have to commend Jacob Trouba for what he had said. Obviously, things weren't going in the right direction, given where the Rangers are right now in the standings. So they desperately needed a win. And the fact that it came in game number 2 of this 4-game season series with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Well, now the Penguins are down 2 games in the season series. So now they need to win these next 2 in Madison Square Garden and in Pittsburgh to make sure that they do not get swept or the Rangers do not win the season series 3-1. So the goal right now for the Penguins, when it comes to the next time they will meet the Rangers, get one so that you avoid a chance of a sweep from the Rangers. But that all being said, time to take the first break of the program. When we come back, we'll get into the guys who got goals in this game and who took a penalty in this game. Only one penalty to speak of in the first period. 3 to speak of in the third period. Could have been a potential fourth, but no call was made. The Rangers took 3 penalties in the second period. Pittsburgh 2 in the second period. We'll break that all down after the goal scorers in the second period and third period, because nothing happened in the first period. Our game stats still to come as well. My thoughts on the Jacob Trouba trade also coming up. Game stats, as I said, still to come. We're going to get to the 3 stars following our penalty takers before we get to the game stats. And then after the next break after that, we will get into our shake of the game. I'll give you my play of the game, and the rest will follow. Time permitting, we'll do a game puck of the game. Penguins post game, Pens and the Rangers, back in just a moment.
Take another look with Gerda Felix and Melanie Taddeo Malo, 2 powerful women of diverse backgrounds having genuine, unique, and uncomfortable conversations that everyone needs to have. Join Melanie and Gerda for conversations about what is missing from human connections.
Hello? How are you, my friend? Why? What's the matter? Why feeling bored and lonely? Look at me. I am always happy. The only reason? I can tell you, it's because I listen to CNT Radio. All the best shows you can think of. The Melting Pot, the Cosmopolitan Culture Club, and the Song Bank. There are also many more new shows to come. Please make sure to visit her website at http://siennaT.wordpress.com/siennaT-radio. Oh, now I can hear you more cheerful. CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Rangers 4, Penguins 2 sounds a whole lot better than Rangers 6, Penguins 0. And it was, but here's the kicker. The Penguins did not allow a goal for 20 minutes of this hockey game. For the first 20 minutes of this hockey game, you know what they did allow? Something that we're going to get into right now as we get into the game scorers and, of course, a couple of the penalties. If we don't get to the third period penalties before we take our next break, we will get to that with our 3 stars of the game stats. And I do want to get the play of the game in, but we're going to save that after the shake of the game comes out. And again, time permitting, we are going to get to a game puck of the game. I also want to touch on some of the action from Friday's games. Only 3 games on right now, and we're going to touch on those in a little bit. But speaking of that, why don't we touch on the early window besides our game? And down in New Jersey, the Devils defeat the Kraken 3-2. Meanwhile, across the border, down in Toronto at Scotiabank Arena, Alexander Ovechkin and the Washington Capitals defeat Austin Matthews and the Maple Leafs 3-1 in their game to tie their season series at a game apiece. They'll meet once again before we hit the new year of 2025. They'll meet on December 28th. Same place, same time as tonight's game. Maple Leafs looking to win the season series 2-1 on that night. But a lot more to come before we get there. So, that said, let's come back to Pittsburgh here and come back to the game in the Big Apple, as it's time for us to sort this mess out for the Penguins, as once again they lose to their Metro Division rivals in the New York Rangers. This time they don't lose to the Rangers 6-0, but they still lose. The final score this time, 4-2. Here's how it went down. Artemi Panarin takes a 2-minute minor for tripping in the first period at 12 minutes and 15 seconds. After 20 minutes, Penguins are outshot by the Rangers 10-6 in the shot total. The remaining totals coming up in a little bit. But moving on, now we're going to get to the scoring before we get to the next couple of penalties. And it all began in the second period as Blake Lizotte strikes again. His 5th goal of the season. And 5th goal as a Pittsburgh Penguin. Assisted by number 19, Cody Glass. His 5th of the season. 5th assist of the season. And EK65, Erik Karlsson. His 15th of the season. Erik Karlsson's 15th assist of the season and 15th assist as a Penguin. Time of the goal, 6 minutes and 19 seconds. But guess what? Literally a minute and 9 seconds later, Artemi Panarin ties this one up after Blake Lizotte broke the ice and gave Pittsburgh a 1-0 lead. And Artemi Panarin says, yeah, okay, if you think you're going to come into my house and do exactly what I did to you a couple days ago, and as I said before, 2 months ago, you got another thing coming. He gets his 14th goal of the season and first goal of the evening and ties this one up. Alexis Lafreniere, his 10th assist of the season. And Vince Trocheck with his 7th assist of the season. Time of the goal, 7 minutes, 28 seconds. That was a minute, 9 seconds later. Literally a minute and 9 seconds later. Speaking of that, 2 ticks left on the clock, and guess what? That's all Artem Yemi Panarin needs to give the Rangers their first game, their first lead of the game, I should say. It's now 2-1 Rangers after 40 minutes. His second goal of the hockey game, 15th of the season, Vince Trocheck. His second assist of the hockey game, Vincent Trocheck. His 8th assist of the season. That's his 8th assist of the season. Second assist of the hockey game, Braden Schneider picking up the secondary assist, his 7th of the season. That makes it 2-1 Rangers. Time of the goal, 19 minutes, 58 seconds. Literally 2 ticks left on the second period clock. Not a lot of time, but to quote our host of On the Ice and Behind the Benches and my brother, as well as our host of Dolphins postgame and Maple Leaf post recap, a buzzer beater. Well, he almost just about beat the buzzer if there was only 1 second left in the second period. But yeah, I would say that's a buzzer beater. In any case, the Rangers take a 2-1 lead to the third period, leading in the shot total after the period, still heavily outshooting Pittsburgh. And here's your shot total. Penguins 9, Rangers 14 for the period. In the shots that count, Rangers up 24-15. Third period scoring rolls around, and the Penguins, just like they opened the second period, they score. But guess what? This time it's Riley Smith that literally a minute later, ties it back up. Gives the Rangers back the lead. He gives the Rangers back the lead, but not before Philip Tomasino says, "Allow me to reintroduce myself," and grabs his third, count 'em, third goal, I should say, of the season. And as a Penguin, Philip Tomasino strikes again. And gets the Penguins' second goal of the game and only goal of the game, as they would only score 2 goals in this game. tried hard to get 2 more, but the Rangers got the last laugh after Philip Tomasino's goal goes in past Igor Shesterkin 8 minutes and 29 seconds into the third period. 9 minutes and 53 seconds later, Riley Smith, the former Penguin, his 4th goal of the season, assisted by Mika Zibanejad, 14th of the season for Mika Zibanejad. And Chris Kreider, his first of the year. Chris Kreider's had a tough year trying to get assists. That's his first of the year. And that makes it 3-2 in favor of the Rangers. 3-2 Rangers over the Penguins. But they're not done yet. Artemi Panarin was looking for his 3rd goal in the hockey game and the hat trick, but not to be tonight. As Vince Torchek gets in on the action and scores his 7th goal of the season, his only goal of the hockey game. Alexis Lafreniere, meanwhile, picks up his 2nd assist of the hockey game after assisting on the Panarin goal. And speaking of Panarin, he picks up an assist on the Vincent Torchek goal, his 17th of the season. That goal coming at 18 minutes and 22 seconds. All right. We're going to see if we can... no, you know what? We're going to give you the 2nd period penalties and the 3rd period penalties after this break. From there, go into the game stats, and we'll get to the 3 stars following the stats. But your shots on goal after regulation, 8 for the Rangers and 5 for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So that only makes me wonder, what was the total? Obviously, the Penguins were outshot in this game, but what was the total? Shots on goal. Find that out after the 3rd period and 2nd period penalties, which are coming up next, in a short version of Penalty Takers, which we already revealed our first penalty during the goal scorers. 3 stars coming up along with game stats right after our 2nd period. 3rd period penalties, and that is when we'll get to the game stats, the 3 stars of the game, and we'll also take a look back around the NHL. That's going to be coming up following the shake of the game. Time permitting, we'll get to the game puck of the game. More on Penguins postgame in a moment. Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches. Looking for good sports conversations, sports media, and important topics for athletes and fans alike, and at times my favorite sports teams? Check out Sports for Beginners with me, Scott McGregor, where we will break down all of the action. To learn more about the podcast, like the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
CNT Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down, nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on CNT Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on CNT Radio.
The Penguins fall once again to the New York Rangers. This time it's not 6-0, it's 4-2 in favor of the Rangers. All the same, the Penguins were embarrassed in Pittsburgh in night 1 of the season on their home opener night. But bright side, they bounced back. Tonight, they had a 4-game win streak that came to an end and started a 1-game winning streak for the New York Rangers. Game stats coming up in just a moment, as well as our 3 stars. But as I said before the break, this part of Penguins postgame is our second period and third period penalty takers. So let's jump into that, shall we? It all began with Vince Trocheck going to the box for his... I'll just say Vince T. Sorry about that, Vincent, if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong. I hope I was able to do it okay over the last few minutes of the show so far. But Vincent T, receives a 2-minute minor for high sticking, 1 minute and 2 seconds in to the second period. Alexis Lafreniere and Blake Lizotte receive penalties at 4 minutes and 6 seconds. Blake Lizotte picking up a 2-minute minor for interference, I should say. It's Alexis Lafreniere who picks up his penalty for roughing, a 2-minute minor for roughing. So Lafreniere picking up an assist. Lafreniere picking up a roughing penalty against Blake Lizotte. Blake Lizotte picking up a penalty as well at the same time for interference. The Penguins would then go back to penalty killing. Well, to be fair, the penalty killing for the Penguins didn't really start until after the Marcus Pettersson penalty that Pettersson took, which was a 2-minute minor for tripping, but we played 4-on-4 hockey with Blake Lizotte and Alexis Lafreniere in the box at 4 minutes and 6 seconds for roughing and interference. Rangers back on the PK with Sam Carrick. 2 minutes for holding the stick of Anthony Buvarelli. At 16 minutes and 8 seconds. Marcus Pettersson's penalty at 12 minutes and 39 seconds. That caps off our second period penalty summary. 2 penalties taken by Pittsburgh in the third. The first went to Ryan Shea for 2 minutes for delay of game. Puck over the glass at 4 minutes and 39 seconds. Apologies there for the pause, but making sure I got that. 4 minutes and 39 seconds. That was the Ryan Shea penalty. Zach Jones picking up a penalty. 2 minutes for tripping against Brian Rust at 6 minutes and 18 seconds. That was 2 minutes after Ryan Shea's penalty. And shortly after that, Anthony Buvarelli picks up a penalty at 10 minutes and 36 seconds in. He goes 2 minutes for high sticking. High sticking was a bit of a common penalty here. Once to a side, it went to Pittsburgh and New York. New York got one early in the second period. Then they got a roughing penalty and a holding penalty. They got a tripping penalty twice. Marcus Pettersson, the only tripping penalty for Pittsburgh in this game. Only interference penalty went to Blake Lizotte for Pittsburgh. High sticking went only to Anthony Buvarelli. And the only penalty for high sticking that went to the New York Rangers, it went to Vincent T. Early second period. All right. That's our penalties for this game tonight. Here's your game stats. Let's start with power, with the goals, or rather the shots on goal. As I said, the Penguins were outshot, but here's your total. The Rangers finished the game with 32 shots to the Penguins' 22 shots on goal. So the Rangers outshot the Penguins 32-22. Penguins outshot by 10 shots on goal, when you think about it. The Penguins won 19 of 51 of the faceoffs tonight for a faceoff percentage of 37.3%. Not good in the faceoff dot tonight. The New York Rangers, a bit of a different story. They won 62.7% of their faceoffs, winning 32 out of 51. Neither power play showed up. So the Penguins, 0 for 4, means the New York Rangers penalty kill. Their penalty kill. The Rangers penalty kill. Perfect 4 for 4 after this game. Penguins perfect 3 for 3 on the penalty kill. And Rangers power play. Oh, I 0 for 3 on the night. 0 for 3 on the night for them on the power play. The Penguins 0 for 4 on the night. The penalty kills clicking on all cylinders. The Rangers penalty kill, perfect 4 for 4. The Penguins penalty kill, perfect 3 for 3. Meanwhile, the Rangers spent 10 minutes in the penalty box. Pittsburgh spent 8 minutes in the penalty box. The Penguins were out-hit by the Rangers 19-14. The Rangers finished the game with 14 giveaways, 5 takeaways, and 14 blocked shots. Meanwhile, the Penguins finish with 12 blocked shots, 14 giveaways, same as the Rangers, and only 4 takeaways. Interesting. All even in giveaways at 14 apiece. 1 takeaway more the Rangers had than the Penguins. And the Rangers won every other category. I guess except for penalty minutes, because that might be better on the Penguins side. But neither power play showed up in this game. Very different story from October 9th, 2024 on that Thursday, which was the opening of the season. Very, very different story. Absolutely very, very different story when you look at it from that point of view. Very different story. You know what else is a different story? Well, not really, considering it was the same time of puck drop as it was on October the 9th. Is that the game was played at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's not really a different story given the time the Penguins were supposed to drop the puck against the Rangers. But you know what is a different story? These next few, I should say, matches between the Pens and the Rangers. But we'll talk about that more in a bit as we wrap up, because I do want to get my thoughts in on the Jacob Trouba trade. And of course, this is also your reminder as we are starting to wrap this segment up of the program that I'm going to be providing you with some intel on Double Trouble Saturday. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We're in another double trouble. That's right. Afternoon hockey followed by nighttime hockey. The Minnesota Frost are playing the Toronto Scepters at 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. I will have you covered with that game. On our third broadcast of the 2024-2025 season for the PWHL in their second season of professional hockey, after their inaugural season went quite well, especially for Minnesota. Not a good start to the season for them, dropping the opener to Boston. Dropping the opener to the New York Sirens. they pick up a dub against Boston. So let's see how they do on Saturday against the Scepters. We'll see. All right, but speaking of now hockey, we're going to talk about what comes up after that in just a second, or when we're wrapping this up. But now that our game stats are out of the way, before we take the break, here are your 3 stars of the game. If you listen to the game on WXDX FM Pittsburgh, the Pittsburgh Penguins Radio Network 1059 BX, also known as WXDX FM Pittsburgh, an iHeart radio station, and Pittsburgh's rock and alternative. They are brought to you by your neighborhood Ford stores. Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs are the official vehicles of the Pittsburgh Penguins. We are not sponsored by Ford, and we're not sponsored by what the play of the game is sponsored by, which is Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. So with that said, before we get off topic, and I'll bring up the Discord in a little bit, but before we get off topic, let's get to it. Your 3rd star tonight is the former Pittsburgh Penguin, Riley Smith. A goal, 1 point, no assists. No assists on the game for Riley Smith. Your 2nd star is Vincent T. A goal, 2 assists, 3 points on the game. And your first star, 2 goals, 1 assist, 3 points in the game. Give it up for number 10, Artem Yemi Panarin, Vincent T, and Riley Smith are your 3 stars of the game. Artem Yemi Panarin, Vincent T, and Riley Smith are your 3 stars of the game. All right. A quick break. The play of the game. Shake of the game. And before we take our final break of the program, a look back around the NHL at some of the other ongoing games. Got quite a couple of good ones in the late window. Earlier in the game, earlier in the recap, we took a look at the early window, which saw the Maple Leafs fall 3-1 to the Washington Capitals, and the Seattle Kraken fall 3-2 to the New Jersey Devils. What's going on in the late game? Stick around to find out when Penguins postgame continues in a moment.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations, as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
Welcome back to Pittsburgh Penguins hockey here on Sports for Beginners and streaming every Wednesday off day this season on Penguins Wednesday hockey, only on the ice and behind the benches. As I'm sure you're hearing if you tune in to Maple Leaf Post Recap, we've got quite a Saturday for you. PWHL action in the afternoon. Then we've got Maple Leafs Penguins the rest of the way. Speaking of that, actually, before we get to that, let's get down to business here. It's time for our play of the game. As I said before the break, that is brought to you by on the Penguins Radio Network, Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. We are not sponsored by Rivers Casino, nor are we sponsored by Ford, the official car, truck, and SUV of the Pittsburgh Penguin. So, with that being said, I mean, this game went back and forth. If the Penguins don't score 2 goals, I guarantee you they lose in front of the... I guarantee you they lose in front of New York's crowd 6-0 yet again. I guarantee you, if we don't score 2 goals like we did tonight, we probably lose this game 6-0, maybe 7-0. But we got lucky to get 2 goals. And the one that's good enough for my play of the game is the second goal that later got reverted to a 2-goal win for the New York Rangers. My play of the game is going to go to Philip Tomasino's 3rd goal of the season and as a Pittsburgh Penguin that tied this one up before Riley Smith and Vincent T took over and made sure the Penguins did not come back to win this hockey game. So, Philip Tomasino, 3rd goal of the season, good enough for my play of the game. If you want to get in on the action, head on over to our Discord server, Penguins Post-Game Show Interactions, or send us an email using subject 3 stars of the game, play of the game, shake of the game, or even game puck of the game. Speaking of the shake of the game, it's time for us to get to that. But before we do, I promised you we'd take one last look around the NHL. So now we're going to take a look at the late windows. Currently in Vancouver, the Canucks are tied with the Blue Jackets at 2 goals apiece. Goals by Keither Sherwood, Brock Boeser, Damian Severson, and Matthew Oliver. In Vegas, the Golden Knights hold a 3-1 lead over the Stars, with goals by Nicholas Roy, Jack Eichel, Maverick Borg, M. Borg, I'll say. If I pronounce that wrong, I apologize. And Thomas Hertl. Those are the goals in that game. Meanwhile, speaking of goals, headed to the 3rd period in the second intermission. Actually, all 3 of these games are headed to the 3rd period, by the way. But there's one game where we have a power play of 1 minute and 19 seconds to do it. And the Minnesota Wild have that power play against the Ducks. And they currently lead the Ducks 3-0. Goals by Marco Rossi. Matt Boldy has the other 2 goals. He's got 2 goals on the game, so he's dangerous. He's looking for his 3rd goal of the night. We'll see if he gets it. That score, once again, Wild 3, Ducks 0. We have a 2-2 tie between the Canucks and the Blue Jackets. And the Golden Knights lead the Stars 3-1. All right. It's time for our shake of the game. Let's get to the shake of the game. Due to time constraints, we're going to limit it to 1 player per squad. And we're going to start with the victorious New York Rangers. And our recipient from the New York Rangers for me tonight it is going to go to Artem Panarin. His stats speak for themselves. 2 goals, an assist, 3 points. He was a +2, spent 2 minutes in the penalty box. As I mentioned, was on the ice for 20 minutes and 52 seconds in 21 shifts. 3 shots on goal for Panarin. No giveaways, no takeaways, no hits, no blocks. And he wasn't even given a shot in the face-off circle. So no face-off percentage for him. Runner-up was the goaltender, Igor Shesterkin. 20 saves on 22 shots. 2 goals allowed against, both at even strength. A save percentage of .909. A save percentage of .909. And 60 minutes played for Igor Shesterkin. For the Pittsburgh Penguins, our shake of the game is going to go to Penguins goaltender. It's a pick-me-up shake of the game for the Penguins. And that's going to go to the Penguins goaltender tonight, Alex Nedeljkovic. 32 shots faced, 28 saves, 4 goals, all given up at even strength. Nedeljkovic finishes the night with 58 minutes and 29 seconds of total ice time. And a save percentage of .875. The runner-up from that, one of the goal scorers in this game. And that was Blake Lizotte. His stats speak for themselves, so we're not really going to get into them. All right. The game puck of the game is coming up in a few minutes' time, but we're going to take a break, our final break of the program, and it will be 30 seconds, so that we can wrap up with the game puck of the game. We don't, unfortunately, have time for me to give my thoughts on the Jacob Trouba trade. But you know what? That's okay. I'll try to get that to you when we do our 1-hour program, Season 3 finale on episode 29 of Season 3 of Sports for Beginners. That's our 1-hour Christmas finale, shaping up to be quite a good one for 1 hour. Some hockey talk is coming. Perhaps some WNBA talk. And we're also going to talk about the upcoming holiday sports action. But we'll talk about that another time. When we return, game puck of the game for both sides, 1 a side. Next up for the Rangers, next up for the Pens. And from there, this show will wrap it up. and set you up for a busy Saturday on Sports for Beginners, beginning with PWHL recap. Stick around to find out how that is happening when Penguins postgame continues in 30 seconds.
I wonder if I could make it. It's almost getting to 8 o'clock p.m., and I am still a few more steps away from home to get to my computer to listen to CNT Radio's Cosmopolitan Culture Club. The best of the best music from around the world. Can't wait. I think I made it. CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners. All right, last program segment here on the program tonight. Game puck of the game. We don't have time to talk about the Trouba trade as much as I wanted to do that, but that's okay. Next five for the New York Rangers and the Pittsburgh Penguins coming up in just a moment. But before we do, tonight's game puck of the game for the Pittsburgh Penguins belongs to Philip Tomasino, one of the Penguins' goal scorers in this game. And our runner-up is Penguins defenseman Marcus Pettersson. It is a pick-me-up for Philip Tomasino. More actually of a pick-me-up for Marcus Pettersson, but the game puck of the game belongs to Philip Tomasino, who once again scored another goal, his fifth of the season. Let me just make sure. No, sorry, his third of the season. That's what I meant to say. His third of the season. Blake Lizotte had his fifth goal of the season. But Tomasino, third of the season. In a 4-2 loss to the Rangers. And for the New York Rangers, speaking of the New York Rangers, our game puck of the game is going to belong to the goaltender, Igor Shesterkin. He's 2 for 2 versus Pittsburgh in this 4-game season series, as the Penguins have dropped the second of the 4-game season series. And with that said, the Penguins will not meet again with the New York Rangers until February 7th, 2025, when they'll take on the New York Rangers in the same place they played in tonight on December 6th, 2024. It is actually now December 7th, 2024, as we speak with you to wrap it up. And then the season series will wrap up in Pittsburgh in the afternoon on February 23rd at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 2025. That's February 23rd, 2025 at 3:30 p.m. Eastern in Pittsburgh, PA. All right. Time to get to the next 5, but before we do, real quick, Jake DeBrusk and Piers Suter, the recent goal scorers for the Vancouver Canucks, put the Canucks up 4-2 on the Columbus Blue Jackets. That game in the third period. Also in the third period, in our late window, Golden Knights lead the Dallas Stars 3-0. 3-1, excuse me. I meant to say 3-1, not 3-0, 3-1. In the third period, they still lead 3-1. Game is about to wrap up as well in that third period. 5 minutes away from wrapping up. 3 minutes and 50 seconds away from wrapping this one up in Anaheim. And the Ducks have fallen behind 4-0. The recent goal scorer for the Minnesota Wild, Kirill Kaprizov. And that one's a 4-0 lead for the Wild. 4-0, the Wild lead the Ducks. All right. Next up, for the New York Rangers, they are not in action on Saturday. When are they next in action? Let's see. They're back at it on a back-to-back starting on Sunday afternoon. They'll take on the Seattle Kraken to continue their current three-game. Actually, how long have they been at home? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have a 5-game homestand they're going on right now. 2 games left. They have defeated the Montreal Canadiens to end the month of November 4-3. They lost to the Devils 5-1. Beat the Penguins tonight 4-2. We'll see what happens against Seattle on Sunday. They will then play the Chicago Blackhawks on Monday night, December 9th, 2024. They're in Buffalo on Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. Back home to play the Kings on Saturday afternoon, December 14th, 2024. That is part of a back-to-back that will see them back in action in St. Louis Sunday night, as they will take on the St. Louis Blues at 6 p.m. Eastern. Next up for the Pittsburgh Penguins. First of all, their back-to-back, speaking of back-to-backs, it wraps up tomorrow when they take on the Toronto Maple Leafs from Pittsburgh to open a 2-game homestand that will wrap up on Tuesday when the Colorado Avalanche are in town for a showdown between McKinnon and Crosby. And on that note, they will then hit the road for 2 games, including Thursday night against the Montreal Canadiens for the final time this season, as they face off against the Canadiens for the final time this season, looking to sweep the Montreal Canadiens in the season series. We'll see what happens. They will then play the Ottawa Senators on Saturday. next Saturday, December 14th, 2024, in Ottawa, in the nation's capital of Canada. And the final game to talk about here, the two final games, the final game, because we started with Toronto, then we went to Colorado, then Montreal, then Ottawa. It's another one-night home game, as the Penguins will go head-to-head with the Los Angeles Kings for the first time this season, starting in Pittsburgh and wrapping that one up in Los Angeles later this season. So for the Penguins, back at it tomorrow in Pittsburgh against the Toronto Maple Leafs and Austin Matthews. A recap will be on both Sports for Beginners and On the Ice and Behind the Benches for Maple Leaf post recap, as well as Penguins post game. Thomas has you covered to get us started with Penguins pre-show following my PWHL recap of Scepters and Frost. And, of course, our next broadcast after the Maple Leaf game will be the Penguins versus the Avalanche. From there, it's Montreal, then Ottawa, then the Kings. And from that point on, we are one game away from the Battle of PA beginning in Pittsburgh in just a couple days. I can't wait. Can it already get there? I cannot wait to bring you the Battle of PA on Penguins postgame. Can we already get there? Please. Good things come to those who wait. Unfortunately, the Penguins on the losing end again to the New York Rangers, this time 4-2. They'll try to rebound against Austin Matthews and the Maple Leafs in front of the home crowd Saturday night, following my recap of a Saturday afternoon game on PWHL Recap. I will be with you for the recap of that game between the Maple Leafs and the Penguins, following my recap of Minnesota Frost and Toronto Scepters. That comes your way ahead of Penguins pre-show, Penguins and the Maple Leafs. That is our topic of conversation next time on Penguins postgame. Real quick here, next time for the New York Rangers, they are back at it on Sunday and will continue playing Monday against Seattle. Then they will play Chicago on the Monday. They'll play Seattle on Sunday, Chicago on Monday, Buffalo on Wednesday, the Kings next Saturday afternoon, and then next Sunday, December 15th, 2024, they're in action with the St. Louis Blues. All right. As for us, that'll just about do it for Penguins postgame tonight. Penguins lose 4-2 to the New York Rangers. The Minnesota Wild defeat the Ducks 5-1. That game just went final. We have a 3-2 score. Seconds into the game, third period, it looks like the Golden Knights are going to come away with the W, 3-2. And it also looks like the Canucks are coming away with a 5-2 win over the Columbus Blue Jackets. My name is Scott McGregor. That is going to do it for this episode of Penguins Postgame. Thank you so much for being with us. I thought this would be 1 hour program, so I didn't expect it to be one, but it is what it is. So with that said, thank you so much for joining us here today. Would love it if you took a second to rate, review, and share the podcast with anyone you know. Tell everyone you know. The season 3 finale of Sports for Beginners will be pre-recorded and drop on Friday, December 20th, 2024. It is our 29th and final episode of the show. It will be recorded on Thursday, December the 12th, 2024, and drop the next week on Friday, December 20th, 2024. All right. Until then, I will see you tomorrow. I should say in a couple hours for Frost versus Scepters, followed by Leafs versus Penguins. Double trouble. Hockey action next time on Penguins Postgame. And once again, PWHL recap for those Penguins fans and Rangers fans. We will talk to you again in February in the new year, because that is again when the Penguins and the Rangers will talk to you about. I will actually be talking to you about that game, those games in February in the new year, because that is the next time the Penguins and the Rangers will meet each other in their season series. The Rangers lead it 2-0. Can they go up 3-0? We'll find out the answer in the new year in February. And then the Rangers will be looking for the sweep on February 23rd. But lots more hockey to get to before that. That being said, have a great evening, everybody. As we were recording this in the evening after the game ended. And I look forward to catching up with you again after a hockey night in Pittsburgh on Hockey Night in Canada between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Pittsburgh Penguins. We'll see who gets the W this time. Last time, the Maple Leafs and the Penguins met. The Maple Leafs got the victory on home ice at 4-2 early on in the season. Who's got the victory in December before we settle it in Pittsburgh in the new year in March? We're going to find out when the game hits triple zeros at PPG Paints Arena in a few hours' time. Good night, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to Penguins Postgame. we'll be back with you after the Penguins and the Maple Leafs, so be sure to check that out. And if you want the Leaf recap, check out Maple Leaf Post Recap, Penguins and Maple Leafs. That's next time on Penguins Postgame and Maple Leaf Post Recap. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next time. And let's go, Pens. Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building. You've just listened to Pittsburgh Penguins hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners or visit the official Sports for Beginners podcast website. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay tuned. And remember that it is not goodbye, it is until next time. And you'd have to be here to believe it. Thank you so much for checking in to Penguins postgame this season, Penguins fans. Your host of the Sports for Beginners podcast, Scott McGregor, here. I just wanted to let you guys know that it brings me great joy to bring you a show like the one we brought you last year, and it brings me even more joy with everything that has come out of it as well. As we try to navigate through quite a year with milestone after milestone in the month of October and the month of September. As mentioned again, my name is Scott McGregor, but if you have any questions, any concerns, any content you want aired on the program, please send me an email at sportsforbeginnerspodcast 8231 at gmail.com. Once again, that's Sports for Beginners podcast 8231 at gmail.com. Thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast and for listening to this episode of Penguins Postgame. We will see you next time right here on Sports for Beginners. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.